I'm the man she loved, without ever knowing my name. She whispered Owen when I touched her, but it was me she held on to in the dark. And I let her. Because the truth is, I've been in love with her since I saw her in the arms of my brother. I knew about the bet before Owen even opened his mouth. The private room was hazy with cigarette smoke, laughter echoing off the walls as his friends drank themselves stupid. I sat in the shadows, as I always did, watching, listening, waiting. I'd been watching for months now, ever since that dinner. The first time I saw her again. Owen had brought her to a family dinner. Casual, he said. Nothing serious. Just a girl he was seeing. But the moment she walked through the door, the air left my lungs. Dark hair, bright eyes, stubborn set to her jaw that I'd seen before, years ago, in a garden full of rich children, and one fierce little girl who refused to be impressed. I watched her all evening. The way she bit her lip when thinking. The way she laughed at something Owen said, a genuine laugh, not the practiced tinkling of social climbers. The way she crossed her legs, revealing a faded scar on her calf. A flower petal. My hand instinctively touched the old scar on my thumb. The one she'd given me when we were 7. She didn't recognize me, why would she? I was just another rich man in a suit, another faceless brother of the boy she'd bitten and forgotten. But I remembered. I'd never stopped remembering. That night I went home and stared at the ceiling until dawn. She was with my brother. She was happy, had no right to interfere. Except, I watched her at every dinner after that. Noticed when Owen's attention wandered. Noticed when other women started texting him late at night. Noticed the way he'd dismiss her concerns with a careless wave. And I noticed something else. The way she looked at me sometimes. Quick glances, curious, like she sensed something familiar but couldn't place it. I told myself it was nothing. I lied. Now Owen loosened his tie. That careless smirk plastered on his face. The same smirk I'd watched him use on a dozen women, including the one waiting outside for him tonight. I give up. Abby's yours tonight. You're really willing to give her up? Someone asked. He shrugged like he was tossing away yesterday's newspaper. It's rare to see you look twice at a woman, brother. Since you like her, of course I'll make the sacrifice. Sacrifice. The word burned. I didn't respond at first. Let him squirm. Let him wonder. But, Owen added, his voice dropping to that cruel, mocking tone, she's been with me for a year. If you find her. Used. I stood abruptly, grabbing my jacket. No need, she's enough for me. The room fell silent. Owen's smirk faltered for just a fraction of a second, but I caught it. I always caught it. All right then. Enjoy the night, brother. I adjusted my glasses and walked out, but I didn't leave. I stopped in the corridor, hidden in shadow, and listened. The moment I was gone, the room erupted. Owen, are you serious? You chased her for 3 whole months? It hasn't even been a year, and you're already tired of her. Owen's voice casual. A bet's a bet. If you lose, you pay. Besides, she's just a woman. I thought Abby was different for you. She was at first, distant, hard to get. But now, she's no different from any other woman. Doesn't she act like a well-trained puppy around me? Laughter. Then a crude voice. Hey, Owen, how about letting me have a turn with her next time? Slam glass on table. Owen's voice turned ice cold. Shut your mouth. Silence. Then someone else, tentative. But Owen, what if Killian actually touches her? What will you do? He won't. My brother has no interest in women. He's a clean freak. You can't be sure. Last time Abby wore that short skirt, he definitely looked at her legs more than once. Owen scoffed. He just hates women who flaunt themselves like that. Let's bet. Owen, want to bet? Owen exhaled sharply. Don't forget Abby's head over heels for me. She'd probably rather bash her head against a wall than let another man touch her. If you really want to bet, be careful not to lose everything. I heard him stand. The scrape of a chair. Footsteps toward the door. I moved deeper into shadow just as he emerged. He didn't see me. But I saw her. A beautiful young girl, barely out of her teens, waiting by the entrance. She laughed and ran to him the moment she appeared. Owen, buzzed from alcohol, pinned her against the wall and kissed her hard. I watched for a moment. Then I turned away. He'd already moved on. Had a girl waiting. I'd probably been seeing her for weeks. And Abby, she was asleep upstairs, believing in a love that had died months ago. I walked toward the elevators, my jaw tight. I'd only meant to observe tonight, to see for myself what kind of man my brother had become. But now I was going to take her. Not because of the bet, not because of some twisted game. Because she deserved better than a man who'd lose her in a poker game and kiss another woman before the chips even cooled. And because, selfishly, desperately, I'd been waiting 15 years to hold her again. 15 years earlier, the garden was loud with the sounds of wealthy children playing, their nannies hovering nearby with juice boxes and wet wipes. I sat alone on a bench, a book open in my lap, pretending to read while secretly watching the chaos. I was 7 years old, shy, lonely. The kind of child other kids ignored because I was too quiet. It's too serious, too weird. Then I saw her. She wasn't like the others. While the rich kids clamored for attention, showing off their new toys and expensive clothes, she sat apart, helping her mother unpack containers at a small food stall near the garden's edge. She couldn't have been more than 7 or 8, but she moved with a seriousness that fascinated me. A little boy, her brother, I guessed, started crying. She immediately scooped him up, bouncing him on her hip, wiping his tears with a cloth that was probably meant for cleaning tables. I don't know why I approached her. I never approached anyone. But I walked right up to her stall and stood there, staring. She ignored me, completely, so I did what any spoiled, lonely rich kid would do. I bothered her, stole a napkin, knocked over a cup, anything to make her look at me. She finally did, and her glare could have curdled milk. "You're annoying," she said flatly. I was hooked. The bullying started after that. I threw rocks near her feet. Not at her, just near. Called her names I didn't mean. Once, when she still wouldn't look at me, I grabbed her hair and pulled, just to see what she'd do. What she did was spin around and bite my hand. Hard, drew blood. Still have the scar on my thumb. I cried like the pathetic rich boy I was. She stood over me, blood on her lips, looking like a tiny avenging angel. "You deserved that," she spat. "Leave me alone." But she didn't run away. She crouched down, saw my tears, and her face softened, just slightly. "Does it hurt?" she asked, almost gently. I nodded, sniffling. She sighed like I was the biggest inconvenience in the world. Then she pulled a scrap of fabric from her pocket, clean somehow, and pressed it to my bleeding thumb. "Don't be such a baby," she muttered. I looked at her calf, where blood was seeping through a tear in her pants. "You're hurt too." She glanced down, unconcerned. I fell, hit a flower bed. "I'm sorry," I whispered, and I meant it. For the first time in my short, privileged life, I was sorry for something I'd done. She stared at me for a long moment, then shrugged. "It's fine. It'll scar. But my mom says scars are just stories your body tells." I traced the shape of the blood on her leg. "It looks like a flower petal. It's pretty." For the first time, she smiled. A real smile. "We're weird." I wanted to stay. I wanted to know her name, her story, everything. But my nanny was calling. My parents were waiting. 2 weeks later, they sent me abroad for school. I never saw her again. But I never forgot the girl with the flower petal scar. The only person who'd ever looked at me and seen past the money, the name, the loneliness. I carried her in my heart for 15 years. And now, my brother had her. And he was throwing her away. I walked into her bedroom and stopped. She was curled under the covers, dark hair spilling across the pillow, breathing softly. Even in the dim light, I could see the shape of her. The same girl, grown into something impossibly beautiful. My heart slammed against my ribs. I approached slowly, my footsteps silent on the carpet. She stirred but didn't wake, murmuring something unintelligible. I stood there for a long moment, just watching her breathe. "This is wrong," a voice whispered. "She loves Owen. She thinks you're Owen. You're deceiving her." But another voice, louder, desperate, answered. "He deceived her first. He pretended to love her. He gambled her away. You're just giving her what he wouldn't." I lifted her carefully. She was lighter than I expected, her body warm against my chest. "Owen," she murmured, eyes fluttering open. Why did you take so long? The name hit me like a slap, but I'd known this would happen, prepared for it. Have you been waiting long? I asked, my voice lower than usual. My head hurts. You'll feel better after some hangover tablets. I carried her through the long hallway, her warmth seeping into my chest. She nuzzled closer, inhaling deeply. You smell so good tonight. Better than any cologne I've worn before? I couldn't resist asking. I love it. I stopped walking. The corridor was empty, the lights dim. I looked down at her, at the face I'd carried in my memory for 15 years, and I couldn't help myself. I kissed her. Just a brush, just a taste. She didn't pull away. Good, I whispered against her lips. As long as you like it. That night I told myself I'd only do it once. One night as Owen, one chance to hold her, to pretend she was mine. I was lying to myself, and I knew it. I left before dawn, as always. Business didn't wait, even for obsession, but I couldn't focus. Every meeting, every phone call, my mind drifted back to her, the way she'd sighed in her sleep, the way her fingers curled against my chest, the way she'd whispered Owen even as I held her. I returned that afternoon, hoping for a glimpse. What I got was more than I bargained for. She walked toward me across the garden, slightly unsteady on her feet, wearing a short dress that showed off every mark I'd left on her skin. My marks on her. The possessiveness that surged through me was ugly, primal, and completely irresistible. Owen, where's my ointment? She called out, that sweet, shy smile curving her lips. She thought I was him. Of course she did. I wasn't wearing my glasses. The resemblance was intentional. She looped her arm through mine, patting my pockets. When her hand reached my pants, I caught her wrist. What ointment? My voice came out rougher than intended. She stomped her foot playfully, still pretending. You hurt me last night. The image flashed through my mind, her beneath me, crying out, my hands gripping her waist. I needed to see. I need to see the injury, I said, my voice strained. To tell the doctor what kind of ointment you need. Her face flushed crimson. Owen. God, I hated hearing her say that name, 'cause it was me she was responding to, me she was blushing for. Then a car roared up the driveway and my brother stepped out. The look on his face when he saw us, her arms around me, my hand on her wrist, was something I'd remember forever. Shock, fury, and something else. Something that looked almost like pain. Interesting. So the great Owen did care after all. It's just too little too late. Brother Abby, what are you doing? His voice was ice. She played her part perfectly, his terrified eyes. Frantic explanations. I mistook him for you. Your brother wasn't wearing his glasses. You were identical. I watched her performance with something approaching admiration. She was good. Very good. But later, as I walked to the study, I couldn't shake the feeling that maybe, just maybe, she was better than any of us knew. I manufactured the crisis in San Francisco myself. It was almost too easy. Owen's incompetence made him predictable. A few well-placed problems with the branches under his management, and he was on a plane within hours. The call came just as I'd anticipated. Urgent, panicked, demanding his immediate presence. 10 days. I gave myself 10 days with her. But first, I had to handle another complication. My phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. Clarice. My fiancée. I'd been engaged for 6 months. A business arrangement, really. 2 powerful families, consolidating interests. Clarice was beautiful, accomplished, and utterly indifferent to me. The feeling was mutual. We had an understanding. Marry, produce heirs, maintain appearances. Love wasn't part of the equation, but appearances mattered. Killian, her voice came through the speaker, cool and precise. I heard Owen left town. I thought we might have dinner this week, discuss the wedding details. Busy, I said. Business crisis. Owen's mess to clean up? A pause. You always clean up his messes. Someone has to. Another pause, longer this time. Killian, is everything all right? You've been distant lately. It's more than usual. I'm always distant, Clarice. That's what you wanted, remember? She laughed softly, but there was an edge to it. True. Well, when you're finished being distant, let me know. We have a wedding to plan. I hung up and stared at the phone. I was engaged. I was about to marry a woman I didn't love. And the only woman I'd ever truly wanted was sleeping in my brother's bed, calling me by his name. The irony wasn't lost on me. I gave the staff time off, told them to enjoy a paid vacation. They didn't question it. Then I went to her. Those 10 days were a dream. A beautiful, terrible dream. I ate breakfast with her in the mornings, watching the way sunlight caught her hair. Walked with her in the garden, her hand in mine, pretending we were just a normal couple. And every night I held her in my arms and pretended I was someone I wasn't. She called me Owen, touched me like I was Owen, loved me like I was Owen. And I let her. Tell me something. If you found out the man you loved had been lying to you from the very beginning, would you hate him or would you stay? Just a little longer, like she did. I'd love to know. I told myself it didn't matter, that I was giving her pleasure she wouldn't get from him, that I deserved this. After 15 years of searching. Lies. All lies. The truth was simpler and uglier. I was addicted. To her laugh, her warmth. The way she bit her lip when she was thinking. The scar on her calf that I traced every night, remembering. One evening, I took her to the riverside. We had dinner on a boat, the water lapping gently against the hull. She drank too much wine, laughing at everything, leaning into me like I was her whole world. On the way back, she was too drunk to walk straight. I carried her piggyback, her arms looped around my neck, her breath warm against my ear. My fingers brushed the scar on her calf, and I couldn't resist asking, "How did you hurt your leg so badly?" She rested her head on my shoulder, voice drowsy. Met a bad boy when I was little, super rich, super annoying. All the other kids flocked around him, but I didn't. So he bullied me. My chest tightened. What did he do? Threw rocks near me, pulled my hair, called me names. She yawned. I bit him hard, drew blood. He cried like a baby. I laughed softly, my heart pounding. He deserved it. He did. She smiled sleepily, but he wasn't all bad. Later, he brought me medicine. Said my scar looked like a flower petal, that it was pretty. I stopped walking. My voice came out barely a whisper. And what happened after? Don't know. He left soon after. His parents probably took him home. I had too much to do. Chores, helping my parents, taking care of my little brother. Couldn't remember a strange rich boy even if I wanted to. I carried her in silence after that, my mind reeling. She didn't remember me. The single most important person from my childhood, the only one who'd ever seen past my wealth and loneliness. And she'd forgotten I existed. But I hadn't forgotten her. Not for one day. "Abby," I said softly. She didn't answer. She was already asleep. The day Owen returned, I arranged a family dinner. A test. For her. For him. For myself. She sat beside him, demure and beautiful, playing the doting girlfriend. Owen was in a foul mood. The San Francisco crisis had damaged his standing, and he knew it. He also knew, on some level, that I'd orchestrated it, but he couldn't prove it. When he reached for his third drink, she pressed his glass down gently. "Brother, drink less. Your stomach isn't good." The word hit me like a blade. Brother. She never called Owen that. Only me. Only in the dark, when I whispered it into her ear and made her moan it back. My knife clattered against my plate. Owen frowned. "What did you call me?" Her eyes widened, innocent and confused. "Brother, what's wrong?" "Abby." He stood abruptly, knocking over his plate. The crash echoed through the dining room. "Who are you calling brother? What the hell have you been doing behind my back?" He grabbed her neck. I saw her face contort in fear, tears springing to her eyes. My hands clenched into fists beneath the table. "You said you liked it when I called you that," she sobbed, her voice breaking. "And did I ever?" He stopped mid-sentence. His gaze slowly lifted from her face to mine. Understanding dawned. I stood slowly, every muscle coiled, every ounce of control I possessed, barely containing the rage surging through me. "Don't mistreat a girl." I gripped his wrist, forcing him to release her. My voice was calm, but my eyes, I could feel them burning. Come upstairs. We need to talk. I didn't look at her. I couldn't. If I saw her tears, I'd lose what little control I had left. The study door clicked shut behind us. Owen paced like a caged animal, his composure cracking. You set me up. That crisis in San Francisco. You manufactured it. You wanted me gone. Planned this whole thing from the beginning. I didn't deny it. You handed her to me on a silver platter, Owen. I just accepted the gift. You wanted her. You've wanted her since that first dinner, haven't you? I saw you watching her. Everyone saw you watching her. And you should have paid more attention to what you had. He spun to face me, his eyes bloodshot. She's mine. She loves me. Does she? I asked quietly. Or does she love the version of you that existed before you started treating her like a possession? Before you gambled her away and kissed other women while she slept upstairs? Owen's face went pale. You don't know what you're talking about. I know about the girl outside the private room that night. I know about the texts on your phone. I know you've been cheating on her for months. I stepped closer, my voice dropping. I also know that when your friend suggested having a turn with her, you nearly broke a glass over his head. So you do care. Just not enough. Shut up. If you'd been truly sincere with her, no one could have taken her away. My voice was calm, dead inside. You gave me the chance. You handed her to me. And I took her. Owen's jaw clenched. So what? You think she'll be with you willingly? She's poor, from a lowly background, but her heart's incredibly stubborn, ridiculously proud. If she knew you pretended to be me to play with her, what do you think she'd do? She'd hate me to death and hate you to death too. And if I hadn't taken your bet that night, would you have lost her to a third man instead? Fourth? Fifth? I wouldn't. You would have. The words tore from my throat. You were done playing. You were tired of her. There was a younger, prettier girl waiting for you that night, and you kissed her before I even reached the elevator. Admit it? He couldn't deny it. We both knew it was true. Will you tell her, or shall I? Why? His voice cracked. Desperation bled through. Why have you crushed me in everything since we were kids? You were fine abroad? Why'd you suddenly come back? So many women like you. You even have a high society fiancé. Clarice is waiting for you. Why do you have to fight with me over Abby? I looked at him, really looked at him. This boy who'd had everything and appreciated nothing, who'd held the most precious thing in the world and thrown it away like trash. Crushing you since childhood was just a matter of who was more capable. I lit a cigarette, inhaling slowly. As for fighting with you over her, I exhaled, watching the smoke curl toward the ceiling. Do you think I'd care about anything you possess? Then what about Abby? I opened my mouth to answer, and the study door swung open. She stood there, pale as death, tears streaming down her face. She'd heard everything. I don't remember running. One moment I was in the study, the next I was in the garden, mud soaking into my trousers. Staring at her crumpled body on the ground, her leg was bent wrong. Blood seeped into the soil, pooling around the scar on her calf. That scar I'd traced 100 times. That scar that had led me back to her after 15 years. Abby, don't be afraid. The ambulance will be here soon. My voice was steady. My hands were not. She opened her eyes. She opened her eyes, looked past me, at Owen. I never want to see you again, Owen. Then her gaze found mine, the tears in her eyes. Those were for me. I never want to see you again either, Killian. The words carved something out of my chest. Let's get you to the hospital first. Be good. If you don't agree to never see me again, I won't go. This isn't the time to be stubborn. She ignored me. Blood dripped onto her scar, staining that faded flower crimson. 15 years. I'd waited 15 years, and this was how it ended. Don't move. My voice was barely a whisper. I promise you, neither Owen nor I will ever appear before you again. She smiled. A fragile, broken smile that destroyed me. Brother, I'll trust you just this once. Then her eyes closed. I kept my promise. I didn't go to her, didn't call, didn't send flowers. But I watched. Every day, I sat in my car outside the hospital, watching her window. I arrived before sunrise and left after dark, surviving on coffee and cigarettes. My phone buzzed constantly. Clarice, my assistants, my mother. I ignored them all. On the third day, Owen found me. He walked up to my car, rain soaking his hair, and stood there staring through the window. I rolled it down. "You're pathetic," he said. "I know. She doesn't want to see either of us. The doctor said she asks about us every day, then turns her face to the wall when they answer." I called off my engagement to Clarice. Her family was furious. My mother is furious. But I couldn't. He trailed off, running a hand through his wet hair. I couldn't marry her while thinking about someone else. "Welcome to the club," he laughed bitterly. "We're a pair, aren't we? Both in love with the same woman, both too stupid to deserve her." "She doesn't love me," I said quietly. "She loves you, or the version of you she thought existed. She loves a lie." He looked at me. "Just like you." We sat in silence for a long moment, rain drumming on the roof. When she's discharged, Owen finally said, "I'm going away. For a while, figure out who I am without all this." "You should too." I made a promise. Promises are made to be broken, not this one. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "You really do love her. In your own twisted, obsessive way." "Yes." "Good." He turned and walked away, disappearing into the rain. "Then suffer like the rest of us." On the day of her discharge, I was there. She emerged from the hospital doors, leaning on crutches, her leg in a cast. She looked thinner, paler, but her eyes were clear, and when she lifted her face to the sun, she smiled. That smile, that same smile from 15 years ago, the one she'd given me after calling me weird, hit me like a physical blow. My secretary approached her. I watched them talk, watched her nod, watched her accept the envelope with the money and the study abroad arrangements. "Is there anything you'd like me to tell him?" my secretary asked. A pause. I held my breath. "Yes. Tell him I wish him peace and success for the rest of his life." I closed my eyes. No anger, no accusations, just peace. She'd trusted me once, and I'd broken that trust in the worst way possible. When I opened my eyes, she was gone. I found her by accident. A business trip, a foreign city. I was in a car heading to a meeting when I saw her walking down the street. Older now, more polished, still achingly beautiful. I told my driver to stop. She waited at a crosswalk, the wind tugging at her hair. She lifted a hand to tuck it behind her ear, a gesture I remembered from 100 nights. I got out of the car. "Hey, Abby," she turned, and looked straight into my eyes. For one endless moment, we stood there, the city rushing past us, the years between us. "Killian," she said. Not Owen, not brother. She knew. She'd always known. I opened my mouth to speak, to explain, to apologize, to tell her about the little girl in the garden and the scar that had haunted me for half my life, but she smiled. A small, sad smile. And then she turned and walked away. I didn't follow. I couldn't. I'd made a promise, and she'd trusted me once. I watched until she disappeared into the crowd, carrying my heart with her, just like she had 15 years ago, just like she always would. I walked back to my car, but somehow, for the first time in years, the weight in my chest felt a little lighter. She knew. She'd always known, and she'd chosen to stay anyway. Even if only for a little while. Even if only in memory. It was enough. It had to be.
You've heard his side, but this was my story too.